Okay, we're here now. Last video installment in this course, and I hope you enjoyed the time we spent together and that you started to get some wins and realizations in your own life by applying these principles, because it's nice to know about it. It's nice intellectual stimulation, but unless you apply this principle into your own life and follow through with some of the tips I gave you of how to apply them, you're not going to notice a difference. However, I know the knowledge in itself is quite exciting, and just by starting to integrate those principles into your own life, you might start to view the world a little bit differently, a little bit more exciting, a little bit more enjoyment, and more possibilities of where you can be. So let's continue with this last installment. It will probably be a bit shorter than the other ones, but it's also important. Because we all want to create the life that we want, and we want to achieve our goals effortlessly, don't we? So how do you do that? How do you create the life that you want, and how do you achieve any goals effortlessly? Well, in my experience, as you can see here, there's a triad, and I call it the triad of freedom, results, and purpose. And you can see it even here in our logos. These three are the cornerstones of the whole program. So if you decide to do the whole full-on Limitless program, the online coaching program, then we're going to go into detail of all of these three corners of the triangle here, or the triad. The first one is freedom. Now, without having the freedom from our limitation, barriers, and obstacles, you won't be able to create the results to the degree that you want, and you won't be able to create the life that you want to the degree that you want, because we have all these limitation, obstacles, barriers, fears, worries, doubts, and so forth, procrastination, distraction, not following through. All of these mind viruses are stopping us from getting there. So we need to let go of these mind viruses, and we need to deal with the real cause of the mind viruses. Otherwise, you might temporarily seem like the mind viruses has gone, but it will appear again. So freedom here is important, and with freedom is to be able to tap in to your full ability, to your full power, to your full strength, and your full mental clarity to be able to create the life that you want and live the life that you want and experience happiness. And to do that, we need to let go of all the limitations. So freedom is to live without any limitations, living in happiness without any suffering, have full access to all your abilities, talents, gifts, and strength and power that you are. And that's what you'll experience. The second part of freedom is to be able to play the game of life the way you want to play it, and connecting with your purpose that is true for you, and not something that's socially conditioned either by the environment when you grew up, or by the environment as you are grown up, or what society tells you, but what is it for you? Because that's the only way you're going to have true fulfillment. And that doesn't mean you're not going to not having that nice house, or the dream house, or the dream projects. Those things are still valid. It's just when you tap into your to a bigger game, and the game that you want to play, and you're tapping into your and connecting with your real purpose, those things will come even faster, or in a more accelerated way, because you're coming from a space of power, ability, and strength. Hope that makes sense. The second corner of this triangle or triad is results. So once we experience freedom, and we can experience more of that freedom, we don't have the mind viruses and other negative energy in our way, but we're free, then we can create results. And part of those, the ability for you to create results, depend on a few things. The first one is your emotional tone. By emotional tone, I mean, what is your emotional state that you're experiencing from day to day? Because that's going to determine what kind of results you create. As I said before, if we have negative emotions or negative energy, we most likely will make negative decisions, even though you might not feel like it because it's justified and rationalized in your mind as being the right thing to do, but it still might be a negative decision, will create negative consequences and results. So our emotional tone is important. Your emotional tone, you can see people, I mean, you just have to sit in a train one day, or in a bus, and in most countries, when you're sitting in a train and a bus, most people are in what I would call a low emotional tone. You can walk down the street and you smile and say hello to someone. They look at you like, who is that guy? Or who, they freak out, think you're a crazy person. Just because you're being friendly and saying hi and smiling. Most people would ignore that because they're in a low emotional tone. Some people will smile back and say hi, and those are the ones who are in a higher emotional tone. Of course, I'm generalizing here, but I just want to get the point across. So your emotional tone is going to be critical, and the more of the mind viruses or the charges that I talked about earlier that you have in your system, the more of your emotional tone will be suppressed. And we'll find ourselves to live in, between, on a good day we're in, feeling conservative, in conservatism, the emotional tone of conservatism, and on a bad day we're in in anger or apathy. And most people live like this, in fear, apathy, frustration, anger, sadness, grief. What kind of life is that if we have to live in these lower emotional tones? So part of creating really effective results in your life starts with, be able to live on a higher emotional tone. But not from the point where you have to force yourself to be in a higher emotional tone. Because I know there's programs out there, and I've been teaching it myself in the past, where you're forcing yourself by focusing on the right, focusing on changing your focus or changing your physiology is another one. Breathing patterns, and all of these are good. Or changing, pump yourself up, and you can't pump yourself up to a higher emotional tone. And that's the way of forcing yourself or pushing it through to get there. But the way I'm going to teach you, if you decide to do the whole Limitless program, the full program, then you're going to learn how to be in a stable emotional tone, high emotional tone of enthusiasm, of fun, of joy, like you see kids before they, get into society too much and being suppressed. They're in a high emotional tone most of the time. So we want to be able to get back to that high emotional tone, but not to force ourselves there, but just to be there, stable on that emotional tone. And the good thing is you can be there, but it's, you need to release those charges, which is the key, and not the symptoms, which is pushing to a higher emotional tone. That would be trying to work with the symptoms and force yourself there. It's not going to last. Another one would be, let's see, where did it go? I had a thought here, but it disappeared somewhere. Has any one of you guys seen it? Anyway, what I was trying to say is that within the program itself, you learn how to have a stable, high stable emotional tone, because we're releasing the charges and not dealing with the symptoms. Now, the other aspect of results is communication, and your ability to communicate effectively and have an impact and influence with the people you communicate with is going to determine your level of results that you create, because you're going to interact with other people. If you're playing the game of life and you want to achieve results, you're always going to interact with other people. And if you have a high emotional tone, you're going to be the kind of person that people want to hang around. But not only that, your communication will be much more effective all by itself, just from being on high emotional tone. But beyond that, you want to learn how to communicate effectively, and you want to be able to have an impact and influence, because if you don't have that with these people, other people will. So to really be creating the results you want, you need to have the ability to communicate effectively, have an impact and influence. And the third one is intention. And when I say intention, is similar to what we talked about before, just making that decision that is already done, like Andrew Agassi. And in the program you'll learn more about intention. We also have a whole bonus there in the program around communication as well. So, and then we have the third aspect, which is purpose, and that is, in my opinion, your real purpose. And there's different levels of purposes here, but the underlying deeper purpose, in my experience, is to know who you are and tap into your true talents and your true gifts and the experiences that you had, like in form of skills that you've developed, and take that, know thyself, and then take that and bring it to the world in a vehicle or through an expression that is aligned with who you are. And the second part is, in my opinion, is also to help other people in some shape or form. If you're connecting with your real purpose, it's always going to be beneficial for other people. is going to help other people or your community or the world at large. You can see that with Richard Branson, his purpose is not just for him to build. His driving mission is to make a difference in the marketplace and provide better pricing, better product, better service to a better price than the competitors. And that's what he wants to do. He wants to help the people in that marketplace to get something better, more value to a better price, and make it fun and enjoyable in the process. So he's helping. That's where it's come from. So, and then we have the layers of purpose, and that's what I mean with these different layers. Is the first, these two, know thyself and help, is partly your deeper purpose, but then there's the purpose of aligning your talents and your gifts and your skills into a vehicle that you're passionate or interested, that you have a lot of high interest in. And you might not be clear about what that is now, but as you go through the Limitless program, you will understand, and you'll get the mind viruses, the charges out of the way. Like we have clouds in the sky, that when they're away, the sun shines through. And the same thing is here in the program. We'll get the clouds out of the way so you can shine through, and you'll connect with your purpose, and you'll have more clarity around that, and direction and fulfillment. So I hope this makes sense. So this is the cornerstones of how to create the life you want and achieve any goals effortlessly. To do that, you need to have these three corners of the triangle in. And when I say you need to have them in, basically what that means is you need to be able to have the freedom, have the purpose, and have the results in the way I've explained here to be able to create the life you want and achieve your goals effortlessly. When you have all of this, that's what will automatically happen. Because you connect with your purpose, you're free from any limitation, you experience high emotional tone, you have a strong intention that doesn't have any counter intentions. Problem is with the secret, for example, is yes, you can have this intention of wanting to create something and have it created, and you can feel like it's created, but if you have a counter intention in your own consciousness, in your own mind, that I'm not deserving of this, or I'm not good enough, and usually all of these are unconscious, then it's not going to happen. So in the program we teach you all of this and how to have this to the highest degrees. So I hope